5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome back to Truth, Beer, and Consequence. Oh man, everything is screwed up today.
Yeah.
Everything is just off kilter. Welcome back to Truth, Beer, and Consequences. This is the podcast where I and my co-hosts listen to, watch, and talk about all of the previous week's craft beer media that focuses around Cincinnati, either Cincinnati content creators or Cincinnati beer. As you can tell, I've never done the intro before, so this is...
Ever?
No, I don't think I ever have.
The
only other time that it wasn't the typical duo with this was when I wasn't available and you sat in. So I am Julia. I just am a craft beer drinker, lover, and note taker. And with me today to talk about these shows is my favorite person in the world.
Oh, thank you. God, that's so nice.
Keep going. Who the hell are you?
That was a joke. Not her favorite person.
Close to it. Who the hell are you?
Well, I thought you were going to finish the intro.
No, go for it.
No, you already started, so just go ahead and run with it.
I'm the gnarly gnome.
Excellent. And
I like beer.
And sitting next to him is...
Josh, Dippa Josh.
Hell yes.
Imperial Josh.
Imperial.
That works.
If not Dibba Josh, Imperial Josh is the way it's going to go. A little bit of a disclaimer on this show. The thoughts and opinions mentioned are ours and ours alone. They do not reflect any entity that we may or may not be affiliated with, such as full-time jobs, part-time jobs, third-time jobs, volunteer opportunities, anything else. That goes for, I guess, just me.
Yeah, I definitely. All of my thoughts and opinions stand for Rhinegeist. Because I just realized I'm wearing a Rhinegeist shirt, and drinking a Rhinegeist beer. Watched a video about Rhinegeist yesterday.
So, yeah, you are all about Rhinegeist.
Yeah, I'm like full on.
You basically work
fanboy.
there.
Yeah. Pretty much,
yeah. When are you doing content creation for them?
Right now, let's get in the truck.
Let's do it. Josh, are your thoughts and opinions representative of anyone other than yourself?
I have no thoughts nor opinions.
Well, there we go. That should make this a fun show. With that being said, no good craft beer podcast would be a good craft beer podcast if we weren't drinking something, anything. It could be, probably not water, but you know what? If you do, that's okay. It's perfectly fine.
I've had a lot of people on my show that were drinking water.
Yeah.
We don't usually talk about it, but
right.
Like,
if they watch the videos, it looks like we all have craft beverages in front of us. So we'll kind of go around the table. Josh, what do you have?
BC's Jerry.
That's a good one. They're amber.
It is the HG house beer.
Excellent. Love that one. It's very good.
I'm pretty sure I was drinking this last week, too, if I remember right. This is Blossom from Rhinegeist.
Yep.
Super good summer beer.
And I have the same thing in my glass. All right. Well, it is Kolsch night, so that means this is going to be a quicker pace show than what we normally do. There could still be a ton of rabbit holes, but you know what? We're going to see what we can do so that we can get...
I feel like out of all the holes, rabbit holes are the fastest.
Yes.
Unless they're rancid, right?
I still think they're fast. They're just messed up.
That's a good... That is an excellent point.
What was that smell?
Ooh. Oh.
That was a fast, rancid rabbit hole. Just ran right by.
We have 3 shows we're going to talk about tonight. We have Barstool Perspective, which I believe both of you have watched.
Yes.
All right. And then we have 2 Gnome shows. We have the start to Volume 11 of Cincy Brewcast. So congratulations on 10 years of podcasting.
Thank you.
That is absolutely amazing. Love that. And then the Weekly Pint, which are there any lingering ramifications from your weekly pint drink?
When I woke up this morning, I was expecting to pee green. I did not, but if you guys want some other details about things, I can give you some details.
No, I'm good.
I do notice your lips are not green.
My lips are not green. No. I'm pretty sure my innards still are, though.
Still are green. So, you know what? Well, let's go ahead and start with the Weekly Pint, just because I want to ask you a couple questions about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. This was episode 253, Slainté my Gnomies, because it happened on St. Patty's Day.
Yes.
Or is it just Patty's Day? Do you have the Saint
you can do
if
either.
you're short? Okay.
So if you're doing Patty's Day, you can do Saint or just regular.
Or just Patty's Day. Okay, that's fair. You said that there may
but
be
it's
some...
Paddies.
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 D, not a T.
No T.
Correct.
Paddies.
Correct. The schnappening was a viewer's choice schnappening. You had a couple bottles in front of you and said, do you want me to show everyone what options are available or just blindly pick numbers? And I think that viewership was a little low on the live side. I think Josh and I were the only people besides...
the chat was a little low.
The chat was a little low, yes.
I keep getting people to come up to me like, hey, listen to the show every week. I just never get on the chat. Like, why would you listen live if you're not on the chat? It's half the fun.
Chris from Third Eye.
Yeah. If nothing else, just say
though.
hi. Yeah. You don't have to be as engaged as like I am or Marco is all the time, but just say hi.
Yeah.
Just pop in like, hey, I'm here. I'm drinking this. Love the show.
I have figured
that's
out that, like, take Barstool Perspective, for instance. Like, if I'm watching it and I'm in my office, I always put it on the TV. And when it's on the TV, then you can't really chat easily. The
Well,
app
then you
on the
also
TV is
have it on
goofy.
your phone or something.
That's what I have to do,
Right.
which is then ridiculous. I have,
Yes.
like, all these, like, Barstool Perspectives all around me, and then there's, like, way too many mics all over the room, and it just...
And then he looks across the room and sees bar stools and then gets really confused.
Oh my God, it's chaos. It is absolutely chaos. But yeah, if you are available on Monday night around 9:30 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube, that's pretty much the only two places you stream that right now. Okay, jump onto the Gnarly Gnomes channel and just participate. Just say hi and what you're drinking if you're drinking anything, and it's fun.
Come hang out.
It's
We're
fun,
there
absolutely.
every time.
I'm so... why would you put me in this window? I'm so distracted. There's like a dance party happening on the corner. Like, what is going on?
Oh my God, there is. If I would have known that there would have been very distractables across, I would have sat over there.
Can't handle this.
That's
As an
what I love.
introvert, I saw a corner and I took it.
So since I normally don't do the intro, I didn't say where we're recording tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we are at Higher Gravity, but we are not at Higher Gravity Summit Park. We are at Higher Gravity Northside. So we are that much closer.
That explains why there's a dance party on the corner.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It explains why there's a corner, because there's no corners close to
there's
Higher Gravity Summit Park.
corners,
But not
kind
this
of.
close, not within...
Pedestrian corners there.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, we have a big gay dance party happening, and it is absolutely amazing. There is always something. I think every time that Josh and I have come down here to have a couple drinks, there's always been something,
always something going on.
happening. It's
a
love
fun neighborhood.
Northside so much. So much. And if you've never been down to Northside for the 4th of July parade, you got to get down here for the 4th of July parade. It's amazing. Marco is on vacation. I also probably should say why Mark is not doing any of this. See, I'm terrible at this.
I think he lied. I'm pretty sure that is him over there in that cowboy hat dancing.
Holy shit.
Wouldn't that be
Marco.
a twist, right?
He didn't know we were going to be down here, so he probably thought he was going to be
thinks he's getting
safe.
away with it, yeah.
He's
Hey,
like, oh
that's
yeah,
our
they're not
truth,
going to know.
right?
He's over there,
Absolutely.
macho man.
Marco, man.
Marco. Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, so Marco is either, depending on how you want to look at things, he's either A, dancing on the street corner down here in Northside instead of recording with us, or he's on vacation with his family.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is more likely? I'm picking the dancer.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks just like him.
He did send us a picture from some vacation spot
Yes.
of like a store that he would like to hang out in.
Yeah, it's right up the street.
And he might have faked that though. Now that I'm
There were trees around. There's
Dude,
trees here.
AI is getting
Coincidence?
really good.
Yeah.
Like those deep fakes. There's no way of knowing that he is actually where he indicated that he was.
I'm gonna put it out there. AI is mediocre sometimes,
Yes. 100%.
as we'll talk about.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. So kind of getting back into the weekly pint, because again, I don't know what I'm doing when I try to host this thing. That's not my role. My role is to take notes, not to actually lead the show. Well, sometimes I try to keep things on track.
Yeah, you
Other than
definitely
that-
lead the show. You are the chief herder of cats.
And man, those cats are
Awesome.
They're feisty. Cats are great, but they are feisty. The schnappening this week on the Weekly Pint, viewer's choice. You had a couple different bottles, and people were able to vote via number in the chat on, do you want to drink bottle number 1, 2, or 3, or 4? But then you took 4 off the table.
It took 2 off the table.
2 off. Well, but so you narrowed it from 4
I
to 3.
saw that it was 2.
Yes.
You guys couldn't see.
Exactly. So we picked a number, and you ended up drinking something called Criscovac. Criscovac?
Criscovac. I don't remember.
Sure.
It was Crisco Vacuum. That's what it was.
Oh, Crisco. So it was
a good way to clog up a shop vac.
Exactly. And your arteries at the same time.
No, you're just telling a guy named Chris to go vacuum.
Gotcha.
That too. It was a pear-flavored liqueur that was bright orange, which I've never seen a bright orange pear, but
I don't know how they came up with it. I don't know.
Why not?
The second you poured that, I wanted that in a vanilla milkshake.
It was so good.
That's all I could think about was a vanilla milkshake when you were pouring that. Oh, man.
I just don't understand why they chose the color they chose. I just can't understand.
Why not leave it clear? Because pears are a very light colored fruit. So why not?
None of the 4 bottles were clear. They all have some kind of color to them.
What was the other one's flavor and color? Do you remember?
The other one that I revealed was the Orahovic.
Oh, okay.
Which is
that's right.
Walnut.
The
flavored.
walnut, and that's
it's brown, walnut color.
That works.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. What was the third one also part of that same line, or was the third one something different?
All 4 of them were part of the same little thing.
Were they all color appropriate aside from the pear?
I don't know what is appropriate for the other ones.
Okay.
Maybe
none of them are normal.
Okay.
Maybe it's normal to be added.
Walnut
and brown.
and pear.
To me, walnuts and the color brown to me is appropriate. It makes sense. Orange and pear does not. So that's why I was wondering what the other ones.
Without going into too many details, and you could Google it and probably figure out the variety pack and how I got them and what the other flavors are. But I'm pretty sure one of them is going to taste like Malort. I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
It's got a whole bunch of wormwood in it.
Okay.
Pears aren't always green, though, right?
No, but they're but they're never bright.
They're never orange.
Well, I'm just thinking if you're meant to mix that with something, maybe they want a color to translate over.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, pears themselves, if you cut them, generally are just white.
White, yeah.
Or
but you could do
tan.
you could go with a kind of a greenish color,
light green or a
nice little
slight
summery
yellow.
green, and it would work. It would make more sense.
Than bright orange.
I don't know if they're just looking for something that stands out on Instagram. I don't know.
Could be.
I feel
or in the mix pack
I'm also confused because it's made with the old recipes, which I don't know what that means, but
maybe it has
really
something to do with
yellow
shelf life. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it was just artificial dye dumped in there to make it bright.
There were 15 different yellow number X's in the ingredients, weren't there?
Yeah, there was
something like that.
I mean, it sounded like you really liked it.
It was good.
It sounded good, yeah.
And I desperately want a vanilla milkshake with some of it.
Yeah, it was good.
We can probably make that happen.
That sounds amazing.
This was the first St. Patty's Day that you weren't able to go out and celebrate properly.
Not the first, but the first in a very long time.
The first in a very long time. Okay. You were still able to celebrate somewhat. But it was with more of a Mexican flair than an Irish flair.
Yeah, it's our new thing.
Yes. Which, I mean...
When I picked up...
It didn't sound like it was a complete loss.
No, it was fine.
It just wasn't the way you wanted it to be.
I did, during the show, get some celebrating done, even if it was weird. When I picked
Josh
up
and I were like,
my Mexican beer at the park, first off, and I'm not going to say where I was because the guy was very nice. I walked in, and I had been in there before because I forget that the place is always closed on Monday, so I have to go to the Mexican place. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, man, I need a Pacifico in a Dora cup." And he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Come on." And we go back to the bar, and he's like, "Oh no, I only have one Dora cup." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I need 2 Dora cups. I need 2 of them. Me and my wife, we both need one. If I bring back one, I'm going to drink it, and then I'm in trouble, and I can't give it to her because then I'm going to be mad.
Right.
So I need 2." And he's like, "I've only got 1." I'm like, "I need 2." We went back and forth 6 times. And I'm like, "I need 2." And he was like, "Okay, just this time." And he got me a big styrofoam cup and filled it up. And
probably a good call. You're not saying who that is.
Here you go, senor. And I said, "Gracias, buddy." And got it. And we went over to the park. But
don't they don't places a lot of times have stickers to put on the disposable cups if they don't run out? If they run out of the actual branded cups?
I think it's up to the municipality that the door is in of how they do that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I feel like...
Because I know that there's a legal way, I don't want to say around if they run out of Dora cups, but there is a legal alternative if you're in a Dora and they run out of Dora cups, there is something else they can do to prove, yes, this is legit. But
I wanted to ask him if they had any green food coloring, because I was going to hit both of our beers and make them green, but I figured that was probably pushing my luck at that.
Might have been. Do you have like lime, when you just scrape the skin off of it? Zest. Yeah. Just put some of that in it. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic.
That'd probably be pretty good.
Do you have any salsa verde?
Which, again, depending on the beer, that might not be bad.
Yeah, it was specific. It probably would have worked.
When you are desperate for a green beer for a specific holiday, I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures.
And by a specific holiday, you mean Patty's Day. There is no other holiday where you would be hankering for a green beer.
Absolutely. So speaking of trying to create a beverage that is fitting of the St. Patrick's Day holiday, producer David made his return. He stepped up. He's been gone for a hell of a long time.
I don't know that he stepped up, but he
showed up. He showed up. Let's say that.
Yes.
He showed up, and you asked him to assist you in making a cocktail for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
And you needed it to be green. You wanted to have a good story. You wanted to be, creative and not kind of one-dimensional flavor-wise. I feel like he checked all of the boxes you asked for.
Yes.
He may have gone overboard on some of them.
Yes.
But I think you got exactly what you asked for. And if you watch this episode, because you should participate live, but if not, watch the recap, or not the recap, but watch the recorded version and find out what producer David said, mix these together, and find out what there was. Was it an ounce or half an ounce of?
Half an ounce.
That's too much.
Yeah,
it's too much.
What was I going to do? Make it different? No,
yes.
that defeats the whole purpose.
Josh and I were
you got to trust the AI.
But Josh and I were both going, didn't it just say 3 dashes of that? So either we misheard
the bitters.
or
3 dashes of the bitters. He also when he spits
That's
out
just
first.
So much.
He spits out all the text and then he's reading it. And as he's reading some things, he pronounces them weird. Like sometimes he wouldn't even say the measurement. He would kind of skip it a little bit. Sometimes he would say,
I'm not confident with this, so I'm just going to
half a. I can't remember what he said the one time. It was like half a who.
I'm kind of shocked you didn't just correct him on the spot. That's
like,
way
you know
too
what?
much.
I'm not doing this.
No,
I thought the same thing. I'm going,
that
no.
just ruins the whole gimmick.
It was amazing.
I think, you stick to the rest of the cocktail.
Sure.
Food coloring doesn't add any flavors, so I think at some point you could just be like.
But it was amazing.
It adds some character.
Amazing watching.
It had a lot of character. I'll say that.
There will forever be a little green ring on my table now.
And every time you look at that, you'll think producer David.
I thought I did really good, but where I set the little measuring cup, evidently some had dribbled down the side.
Oh.
And by the end of the show, there's a little ring around it, so it's going to be there forever.
That's amazing. So the cocktail that producer David crafted from you, because you gave him a set of criteria from your bar.
Yeah.
Which those AI engines are absolutely amazing what they're able to do. It is very, very cool. The name of the cocktail was, I think, dead on what you got.
Yep.
The Leprechaun's Reckoning.
Yes.
It did not use 37 ingredients like the previous AI cocktail that he put together.
And I did run a test earlier in the day. I wonder if I've got it on here. I have noticed certain things about the model and what it does with cocktails. Like it really likes. Oh, I don't have the app. Damn.
Doesn't it always want everything to be very balanced? And you're going.
It does,
always want
but it also
balanced.
it leans towards certain ingredients. I've noticed that every time it usually wants to put that Zerbins in there. Almost every time I tell it to make me a cocktail, it puts it in there.
So when you put in all of the things you have at your bar, did you put quantities? Like I have a full bottle of this, have a look
I just said here's all the things that I have in alphabetical order.
Interesting. Because how often is Zerbins used in cocktails if you're on the
I've never seen it in a cocktail out and about. I'm sure it is, but
I've never even heard of it until Gnome mentioned it.
Yeah.
I've got the first test one from earlier in the day.
Okay.
He came up with one that was called Dancing with the Banshee.
It's a tribute. Those names are great.
A tribute to the wild, unpredictable spirit of Irish lore. Smooth at first, then it howls.
Ooh, all right.
And it was similar. He went with an ounce of rye whiskey, half ounce of liquor 43, quarter ounce of green food coloring, and it says Got to go all in on the St. Patty's theme.
Still too much.
And again, a half ounce of Zerbins and a quarter ounce of absinthe.
That could be good.
Maybe de Aivid.
Yes.
Maybe de Aivid doesn't can't measure in drops. Maybe it's like
he only has ounces.
Maybe
so
it's just an ounces thing.
I am pretty sure in some of the other tests, he can do dashes.
That's true. That's
but
true.
I feel like 3 dashes of food coloring might also be too much.
If AI is going by what other humans have fed into it,
no
one has ever said, "Give me 3 ounces of food coloring." It's always been drops or dashes.
Yep.
So I'm kind of curious who fed what to
he's
to
thinking
ChatGPT,
for himself.
whatever.
I'm convinced.
He is now sentient, and he was very pleasant to listen to. He has a great voice.
I didn't scold him last night, but I will be talking to him this week and explaining that. I did tell him there was too much.
Too much.
I kind of told him there was too much green, but in a.
But you asked in a very nice
way.
thing. Yes.
But
So
we're gonna have a talk this
I'm
week.
wondering if you prompt them to say make it funky and weird. Or make it overpowering in some way.
I think I've told him to make it unique, something I haven't had before. I think I need to somehow emphasize that it needs...
Or just say, I don't want it to be balanced.
I want it to be balanced, just not too balanced. I got to figure out a way to communicate that to him.
Well,
he made you, for St. Patty's Day, the greenest cocktail ever. Which led to the greenest beer ever. So,
and then the greenest mouth ever.
Maybe
oh my
with
God.
the obnoxious, over-the-top character that St. Patrick's Day already is.
Maybe
that is the perfect St. Patrick's Day cocktail.
That could have been incredibly appropriate.
Maybe he understands better than I do.
You actually pulled out a third beverage for the night, which was kind of like your side beer. I think you called it a Fretboard Light, and you're going, the cocktail's good. It tastes good. There are no issues with it. It is just way too green because, again, half an ounce of food coloring is a lot of food coloring. Unless you're making a 30-barrel system of beer.
You could.
I don't think I even put in a half an ounce. I don't think I had.
I don't think you had it. Yeah, you emptied out that.
It might have been close to a quarter.
For what you put in, you could have probably put in 6 gallons of beer, and it still would have been the same color.
No, you could have done an entire keg.
Yeah,
easily.
It would have still been the same color.
Yeah. So you cuvee the Fretboard Light with the cocktail. I need to try to cut this down so that I'm not staining absolutely everything in the studio, which I think you still stained everything in the studio. Did those glasses ever clean out properly?
I did make sure I washed them. I didn't look at them this morning to see how good they were cleaned, but I did wash them.
Your wife's going to be like, what happened to these glasses? Don't worry about it.
She doesn't look at them. She doesn't go down there.
It has to be some serious food coloring to stain glass.
That was... But I mean, even just pouring it out, the way it was sticking, man. That was beyond impressive. So if nothing else, watch this episode to see... The blackest green drink.
Yeah, it was dark green.
When
it was amazing.
A couple weeks ago, when you washed a glass with absinthe, I wanted the glass to look like that.
Right.
That's true.
I wanted it to look green
good.
like that.
All I could think of was that uranium glass. I'm like, this looks radioactive. This looks like what you would get from
a yard sale.
It could be. It
I don't know what's in that stuff.
Then you talked about what that day or that whole weekend kind of led up to you not being able to celebrate Patty's Day the way that you normally do.
Chaos.
Absolute chaos. Gnome HVAC and Auto Repair LLC is going to be formed within the next week or two, it sounds like. And you're going to be able to be the one to call up for all of your automotive repair and furnace and other HVAC needs.
I can fix a furnace as long as it's one of the 2 kinds of furnaces that I've owned.
Well, there you go. You can change an air filter like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah, I can do that.
Talked a bit about this week's episode of Cincy Brewcast and the possibilities of multiple tap rooms for CinBev's portfolio of brands, which we'll kind of talk a little more about when we talk about Cincy Brewcast. But, oh my God, that would be absolutely amazing to go to these different tap rooms that all have their own individual feel, but you can still pull from all of the different brands that CinBev has while you're there. Yeah. So you can get anything you would want to drink rather than, if I go to this tap room, I'm only going to have access to cream ales and lagers. And this other tap room only fruited wheats and IPAs.
I would be okay with the cream ale and lager tap room.
I think I would too, because as you have said multiple times, and I agree with, there are too many, well, I don't say too many places. Almost everyone is trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
They want to be sure to have an option for everybody. Now, I agree with that to the point of if there's someone that does not drink beer or doesn't want to drink alcohol, have at least one option for them that's not just water for them to enjoy.
Right.
I get that. But if your passion is, Midwest fruit tarts, look at Urban. If your passion is for lagers, for something, and you really do not like making IPAs or ambers or whatever, focus on what you want to do, because there are so many other breweries in Cincinnati where you can get those other things.
But you can also, you can lean into the lager thing and still make a beer that would make an IPA drinker happy. That's
True.
the different side that I look at it. You don't have to be something for everybody, but if you want to make your business successful, you need to try to find things that kind of fit to what you want to do.
Kind of bridge those gaps.
That will, bridge those gaps and make people happy.
I think Urban is a good.
Yeah, Urban doesn't have
that.
to make an IPA, but they can make something that'll make an IPA drinker happy.
So, Josh,
made
that's
a tart
great
IPA.
Yeah.
And it's not a tart IPA.
Right.
So I guess you're a great example to kind of ask this to. If we decided to go from here over to Urban Artifact, knowing that they don't have an IPA or a lot of standard beers on tap that they don't make, like you can get a Narragansett, you can get stuff that is not Midwest fruit tart or fruit tart-esque over there, but they're typically not Urban Artifact. What do you like about going over to their tap room that they offer you?
Castello.
Okay. That's
Like,
fair.
I think it's
legit, that's fair.
It's definitely improved over there. Sours really aren't my thing. If I do have a sour, I don't want more than a taster, ever.
Yeah.
Sours tend to be way too sweet for me. And I like the tartness of a sour, but literally by a few mouthfuls, I'm done with it.
Sure.
So I couldn't do more than a taster. And over there, sure, I could drink Narragansett. Do I want to drink Narragansett? No, but if everyone else is there, that's what I would get.
For the record, I'm going to go on record and say that I hate that they have Narragansett. I don't know why they don't just put Cincy Light in there if they're going to do that.
I agree.
Yeah,
why
I would
not
agree.
go local? Why
I
are you
agree.
putting Narragansett in? God,
No. I agree. I agree.
I don't like it.
Brett, I know that you're a huge listener of the show. Take this into consideration. Pass it on to whoever runs the bar these days. Last note that I had was this week's show was, according to you, your first potential waste of liquor and food coloring.
I drank it, so...
So it actually wasn't, because you're
Not a
going,
waste.
I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this one. But props to you for taking as many sips of that beverage as you did. After that first one, I'm going, his insides are never going to be clean again.
As the show is going on, your lips getting grayer and grayer.
yeah.
And by the end of it, you look like a corpse.
Oh my God, it was spectacular in the kind of way that I'm glad I don't have to deal with this. So,
I hope everybody appreciates what I do for them.
Oh my God. Hopefully you know that we do, but yes, hopefully everyone else also appreciates that. Because did you know when he said half an ounce of food coloring, in your head were you going,
I knew it was going to be green.
Oh no, this is not going to be good. All right, before we move on, the sip and sniff count, you took 11 sniffs of your beverages.
Okay.
A lot of those were the Criscovac. I'm never going to say it the same way twice, so I'm not sure why I'm even trying. And then you took 7 sips of your multitude of beverages, from the Schnappenings to the Leprechaun's Reckoning. What did AI say? Leprechaun's Playground. If you're trying to clean the Leprechaun's Playground out of your mouth.
Something about your mouth being a Leprechaun's Playground.
When you asked how to clean
and I went, ugh.
coloring, oh my God, this is awful. That is a total
Felt
of...
like a Leprechaun's Playground. Jesus.
That was a total of 18 countables in this episode. That was a little under an hour, I believe. I didn't write down the timestamp. I think was it a little over
on my count? Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't write it down, so I'll go with your truth. That is 36 ounces if you're playing our drinking game, which is 2.25 green pints of whatever beverage you would like to drink.
Absolutely doable.
Yeah.
100% doable. That's easy.
Make your green pint in a glass that you don't love, just in case.
And don't use more than drops of food coloring.
No, if you're going to do it, you got to do it.
But you don't need an ounce of food coloring. No.
If you're going to drink along with the show, you've got to stick to the theme. You got to dump as much food coloring as you've got in your house in there.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one.
I do appreciate you trusting the process.
Yeah.
The AI told you to make it. You made it. You identified a problem and still did it.
I'm not a fake.
Oh, it's great. I love it. I love it so
appreciate that
much.
at least.
All right, so the trivia person has arrived, and we have 20 minutes, I think, before trivia starts. So we are going to go through these last two shows quick so that we can finish our beverages, cash out, and get down to drink some Kolsch. Cincy Brewcast. Let's move on to this one. Volume 11, Episode 1. Once again, congratulations on 10 years of Cincy Brewcast and making the Cincinnati craft beer scene just so accessible to everyone, if that makes sense, because a lot of people might want to know more about a brewery or an event or a news story about something happening in Cincinnati, but they don't know who to ask or how to get that. You provide that link between business and consumer. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
On top of that, at one time, and maybe 10 years ago was that time, but you could walk into a brewery and sit down at the bar, and the person behind the bar was probably an owner or a brewer. Mm-hmm. It was just a different type of world back then, or that person was going to walk in at some point and be hanging out there.
There was a lot more connection between.
That doesn't exist anymore.
That's true.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
You just don't see the production team, you don't see ownership team. It's the bar team, which they're great, but it's different than it used to be. And this gives you that connection between the owners and the brewers and the people that actually make your beer.
Yeah. That is very true. Very good point. You talked to Elliot from CinBev. This was a really, really fun episode. The title was Taft's is Back thanks to CinBev. At least that was the Patreon title. I think the title's different now. A little bit different if you're watching it on a non-Patreon basis, but exact same gist. That space, there weren't a ton of kind of wide frame images of the bar that you guys are sitting at.
Right.
But I know that when...
Because there were people around us working.
Yes, you could see them in the background.
We made them move off of the bar because they were doing sensory at the bar when I came in.
And
you guys go sit over there.
That space is so incredibly beautiful. I think that when we had the opportunity to do that kind of mini tour before Kolsch night, I think it was, I think I said, I need to find a job here just so I can work surrounded by all of this.
That was at the CinBev location?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they're
It's in the middle of their office. They have this really beautiful bar.
Gorgeous.
It's so neat.
The wood is repurposed from the old parts of the factory and the brewery. It is absolutely
They've
beautiful.
got all kinds of cool old memorabilia on the walls, old Hootie labels and stuff like that they found. It's cool.
If they ever offer another kind of tour thing, let me know.
Yeah.
I would love to get Josh in there.
Sure.
Gavel Banger, it's making its first run at CinBev.
Oh, it was good too. Oh,
it was
so good.
Fresh. So for people that were wondering, is the Taft's brand or the beers that you know and love from Taft's going to be changing now that someone else owns the brand, now that someone else is going to be brewing it? It sounds like you pretty much went, this is fantastic. There is nothing to be worried about whatsoever. And a lot of the episode, even though it was called, Taft's is Back, a majority of the episode wasn't necessarily Taft's focus. It was very much a CinBev episode with just a few key pieces that were focused on them acquiring the Taft's brand, which I think was, I don't know if it was intentional, but I think it was very smart because of how you were able to tie everything together. The intention
was to show how Taft's fits into CinBev and fits into where this whole thing is going now, and hopefully that came across a little bit to people.
I thought it did. I thought that it was a really great way of... I'm going to be jumping around in my notes a little bit, but one of the things Elliot said was when the Taft's brand became an option for us, their current portfolio doesn't have an IPA line. I think that was the big example that he brought up. Now with Taft's, they can fill that IPA void that their current portfolio did not have.
Right.
It all fits. It's all, I don't want to call Taft's historical, air quotes, per se, but it has been a fairly long-running brand in Cincinnati, much like Hudipole and Little Kings. And it
was important, especially at the time when it started. I mean, it was 2015, 2015, something like that. Like it wasn't that long ago.
Right. But it
was
still
just,
was one
at
of the
that time
earlier-
things were
yeah.
changing, and they were the first ones to kind of put their foot down. Like, this is what a brewery looks like today.
Is it weird that I'm more excited about Taft's now than I was?
No.
I don't think so, because I feel like, and you touched on this a lot in the episode, I feel like Taft's, and this is my personal opinion, started to pull away from their focus on the Taft's beer.
Yeah.
Because of
And
how
it
much
showed.
focus was
And
going
you
on
felt
with
it
the
absolutely
contract.
showed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a slow kind of painful death of the brand. It was like you saw
Right.
less and less, and then you saw spaces closing, and it was clear they didn't care about it all that much.
Right. So
Not that they didn't care about
Yeah.
it, but they
right,
just
but
not the way
it
they
wasn't
used.
the focus.
Well, the one of the first few times we went down to the Brewporium, I genuinely had a great time.
Oh, it was
And
amazing,
I thought the
yeah.
beer was good, and I thought the environment, like the space was cool.
Yeah.
That it was easy to get to, and the parking situation was good. And then the more and more we went there, it was half the place was closed for party. Like literally half of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're confined to the little bar space. And then we went there once for the FC Cincinnati game.
Oh, yeah.
And then they couldn't show us the game. And then there was just more and more like mistakes. And more like slips. And it just kind
I
of
feel like the FC
soured it
game
for
was
me.
where you started to realize that the Taft's brand wasn't their focus anymore.
Yeah.
So the beer was still fine, but it was just missing something. Like there wasn't that focus on it the way that there had been when,
Yeah.
when Josh and I first got really into what Taft's was doing. So CinBev taking over it, I think took a lot of people either by surprise. I think they thought that that Impact would be continuing to carry the Taft's line and just essentially contract brew their own stuff if it's no longer however that works.
Yeah, I really thought they
But-
would leave the location open. I thought they
Yeah.
would have a tap room there.
That was actually one of the things that I kind of called out when there were a couple other closings that happened for other breweries, other tap rooms, and it was, well, who do you think's next? And I said, and this was before Columbus closed, I believe. I think it was just after the Ale House closed. I said, honestly, I think that I can see the Brewporium closing. I think that they'll probably just focus on contract and go, we don't really need the tap room, and that's going to be it. I didn't want that to be the case, but it turns out that that's kind of the way that everything flowed. But luckily, CinBev saw the brand, saw the potential, saw the way that could fill the holes in their portfolio. And it sounds like it's maybe better than ever.
It sounded to me, if I interpreted correctly, that CinBev didn't even see it. Taft's reached out to CinBev and said, hey, this
Gotcha,
is happening.
okay.
Are you guys interested? Was the impression that I got.
Man, I'd be curious to know how many conversations happened on the Taft/Impact
God.
side, whatever, about do we keep this brand in-house? Or maybe all they're doing there was like blending seltzers and
Well, that's it.
canned
Like, it
cocktails
was
and
like-
all that, and they're not brewing.
It was like, do we keep making beer at all? Because not only is it taking up this big footprint in the middle of our production space, it's taking up time in our tanks.
Yeah.
Do we keep making beer for us and for other people, or do we just say, forget this, let's stop making beer?
So kind of slight tangent on the contracting side, and then we'll kind of get back to talking about this episode before we get, too in the weeds. Most of what Impact, formerly like the Taft's, well, not formally, it always was like side by side, however you want to say that. Feels like it's not beer, it's all the ready-to-drink, canned cocktails, all that. Is niche brewing, what Urban's doing. Do they do any contracted beer, or are they also more of just a blending cocktail, ready-to-drink type
Most of what I've seen is blending,
Okay.
ready-to-drink stuff.
Nothing wrong with it, because if that's what keeps people employed locally,
Right.
go for it. But it is interesting to go, these local breweries, I don't even want to call it a side business, but their other branch has nothing to do with beer or brewing.
Right.
And that's interesting. I don't know.
It's how you pay for really expensive equipment, too.
Like a big old laundromat to
Yes.
be moved into your facility. All right, moving back to your episode, our big cans of Little King wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so are you...
I'm fine with it, but it's wrong.
You're fine with it, but it's wrong.
What
Okay.
if they just
It's-
changed it to Big King?
I
Or just Little Big
I don't-
King?
just, and so...
The Big Little King. It's weird. I
think
get it, but
for me, if you're going to again, I'm fine with it, and I'll drink it, and I'll be happy with it. But to draw like some kind of a comparison, like if you were gonna make that orange or agave lime Little Kings again, you don't make it Little Kings. You give it a completely different brand.
Yes.
You call it Taft's lime cream ale. Come up with a better name than that. But,
Sure.
And throw it on one of those other brands.
The King Cream Ale.
It should not be Little Kings.
Are you saying that without the novelty of like the bottle, Little Kings is just not Little Kings?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I think the bottles themselves are a big part of Little Kings.
It's part of the experience, yeah.
I say that knowing that if I'm somewhere and I see Little Kings on tap, I'm probably getting it, and I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm. And if you see it in a 16-ounce can somewhere, like at a stadium, you're probably
drinking it.
Yeah,
But if I'm at a bar and I see it on tap and they have special little 7-ounce Little Kings glasses that it's served in.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
I'm definitely getting it.
Yes.
Way more.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
if I'm in a stadium and instead of selling a big 16-ounce can, they sell you like, a little 3-pack or a 4-pack of little tiny cans, I'm definitely getting them.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Yeah.
It's, and I understand logistically it doesn't make sense and you can't really always do that, but that's what I want as a Little Kings fan.
Right. I see both ways. I feel that Little Kings, without being in the little format, it doesn't feel the same. Yeah. But Elliot made an absolutely wonderful explanation of this is
you want to be
why
in the stadium.
We did this. Absolutely.
That's why you do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people don't want to go back and forth 15 times because you're only getting a 7-ounce can.
Yeah.
When you could get a 16-ounce can, and that's 1 or 2 less trips that you're making.
Yeah.
I get it, but I thought that it was a very interesting topic. Just like what we mentioned a little bit on in the weekly Pint conversation, CinBev taprooms, location matters, the aesthetic matters, and the locations and the taproom have to match the brands.
Yes.
You don't want the Hootie taproom to feel like the Taft's taproom.
Right.
And you don't want that to feel like the Little King's taproom, or however they decide to diversify that and spread that apart, which I'm really...
But they can have all the same products if you do it the right way.
Correct. You go to any of those tap rooms, the tap list could be exactly the same, but you walk into one space and it feels completely different than walking into another space.
I say just Applebee's it. Put a bunch of stuff on the walls, do the CinBev history, Applebee's wall thing, and then just incorporate a little bit of each of the different brands.
I think that
and then make it their own thing.
Every brand has to have its own space and it has to
I think
feel
something
different.
similar to that could work for some of the older brands that have been around for eons. But for something like Taft's, that is in all things considered, a newer brand, that would almost need to feel completely different, just because of the people that air quotes grew up on Taft's are not the people that grew up on Hootie or Little Kings. And gotta love all the noise going on Hamilton Avenue right now.
So, to me, Taft's has a very specific type of tap room that I'm looking for, and to me, it's a brew pub. I want it to be a brew pub. There needs
to be like the Brewporium. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like the brew pub, but it has to have that same kind of idea.
Sure.
Whereas you look at a brand like Moorline, it needs to be German. It needs to have like a beer hall with big communal tables.
Yes.
And then you look at a place like and maybe. Hootie and Little Kings fall into the same category here. To me, I want it to feel like a dive bar.
Could the tap room be called Hootie and the Blowfish?
No, I think that is probably trademarked.
What about what's that place with all the shipping containers? Different eateries and all
Yard
that?
House.
What if a brewery was set up like that, and there were different
Covington
little
Yard.
and there were different little
Not
sections?
Yard House. That's totally different.
Maybe.
The brewery itself was that diverse brand.
And you went into these separate little rooms for each one.
It's hard.
Maybe.
Something like that.
It would be hard to staff something like that and make it make sense.
Make it look like a food court sort of thing.
Yeah.
But have each section.
That could be cool. Yeah. I know what you're thinking. That could be cool. So trivia is going to be starting in a few minutes, so I'm going to run through this.
Yeah.
I know that normally we do rushed episodes. We're already at 48 minutes, so Patreon, if I don't cut a ton from this, sorry that you're getting the same shit as everyone else.
Womp womp.
But it is what it is. Distribution changes specifically. You didn't say Heidelberg, but Heidelberg was kind of the common thread there, and how it might impact the CinBev brands. Elliot's still pretty positive that the relationships that he has with all of their accounts, or that they have with all their accounts, everything's going to be fine there, and no one's going to be getting old product regardless of how whatever happens. So that's good. The first, I was a little confused on this. I wrote something down, then I crossed it out. The first new Taft's beer that was brewed at CinBev was Bathtub Bach.
Yes.
And then Wheat Wave was the second.
I think it was Bathtub Bach, then Gavel.
Then Gavel Banger. Okay.
That might not actually be true as far as when they were brewed, but that is as far as packaging.
Okay. And then deciding what style of beer goes under what portfolio. That was a very, very cool discussion. I mean, I feel like the IPAs and the more fruited, sweeter ones, they definitely would fall more under the Taft's brand than under Moorline or Little Kings or anything like that. I love that they have decided if we want to do a flavored beer, it can't go under the Little Kings name, because that's just not what Little Kings is. So they absolutely understand these legacy brands and the importance of Cincinnati and how they need to stay the way that they need to stay. And apologies if you can't hear us because of Adam doing trivia shit behind us. It
doesn't seem that bad to be honest.
No, it's probably perfectly fine. If they ever do a non-beer, you're probably going to have Red Top THC Seltzer.
Mm-hmm.
That is 100% what you guys said. That is totally not a Truth Beer Pod prediction there. And there is a place for all types of beer when it comes to ABV. Like, not everyone has to drink those 6 to 7% beers.
Yeah.
Those 4 and 5. Hell, there's some great table beers, like 3% beers out there. What was the one at... was it Mellow Tones? No. Who had the 3% lager somewhere here locally that was absolutely delicious? There was a place for everything from your 3% table beers to your 15% breakfast stouts.
Yeah.
And the CinBev portfolio has most of them figured out. I don't know if they're doing any stouts or anything super, super heavy yet, but I mean, you never know what they can do as everything grows for that. And then email marketing@cinbev.com to demand the beers you want them to make, such as Double Gavel Banger.
Yep.
That beer was spectacular.
It was a great beer.
If they bring that back, Elliot, I know you're a big listener of the show. Double Gavel Banger, you have at least 3 votes from this table saying we need that beer ASAP.
Double Dippa Josh definitely supports that.
Needs the Dippa Gavel Banger. This was an amazing episode. I was so excited to see that you talked to Elliot, that you were at CinBev, that I got to see more of that beautiful space from the video that you had. An hour and 6-minute video from the Patreon side. I don't know if you changed that at all from the public facing. I didn't check.
It should have gotten trimmed since then.
A little bit. Okay.
Minutes.
All right. And you did somehow an amazing job of switching the camera when people were taking sips. So I can't guarantee that my count was complete glass to lips.
I don't do that.
Like
David does all that.
But it looked like that. So if this is wrong, this is all David's fault. This was actually pretty impressive. I was able to count what David showed, 8 sips, which is 16 ounces, which is a pint between all of you, the 2 of you in this episode.
Glass to lips is a really good apology segment, by the
way. It is. You are not wrong. Maybe that should be a new segment that we try to somehow develop for this. All right, time is running short. It is already 7 o'clock. Luckily, Adam is kind of not starting trivia right away, but let's run through Barstool Perspective so we can get the hell out of here. This was the episode that aired March the 14th, 2025. Finance Management by Gut Instinct is how I titled this episode. Barstool Perspective is the Fox News of beverage news. Which, yeah. They try to be accurate.
I don't think they try. I don't think they try.
They don't try in the same way that Truth Beer Pod tries to be accurate in our recaps.
They give the news based on their feelings.
And sometimes their gut instincts may or may not help or hurt their listeners when it comes to retirement plans.
Sure.
Retirement fund. I think you and I are both hurting a little bit on that front because of them.
My life savings.
Canada is clapping back at U.S. tariffs, which I never thought I would hear either of them say clapping back, but there it is. They always surprise me with the lingo that they pick up from the young folks working at Urban Artifact.
Sure, those hip drinkers.
Exactly. So Canada is pulling a lot of U.S. alcohol off of their shelves and saying just buy Canadian, which I'll be honest, go Canada. I can't say that I'm upset at what they're doing. I don't
let the consumers decide always.
Exactly.
Just if you want to slap another tariff on and make it more expensive, fine. People are still going to drink bourbon before they drink Canadian whiskey. Sorry.
I don't like the fact that it has the potential to impact jobs here in the United States, but at the same time, it's also, again, to those kind of upper levels, it's a fuck around and find out kind of thing. And I don't know. Let's see, what else do we have? Could this cause rock bottom prices in the United States on bourbon? Potentially. We could see some very cheap bourbon happening here in the U.S.
I think we'll definitely see a little bit of a change, but I don't think it's
going to be like, right, you're not going to go out to the stores and buy like a $5 handle of Jim or something.
I also don't think it's going to impact our sales that much in Canada. It's going to increase sales in the United States because the Canadians are going to come to the United States and buy their bourbon and then go back home.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you're going to see more places pop up that are like bourbon bars or something like that.
Very possible. Very possible.
I don't think it's going to get any cheaper. I just think it's going to be more money in the pocket of
I guess,
the establishments.
Right, and I guess the pricing also depends on does the cost of those glass bottles, because I think, and I could be completely misremembering this, I think a lot of the glass bottles that are used to bottle the bourbon are imported. So if those are all of a sudden tariffed more, like, again, I feel like there's a weird.
Is.
Okay. I know aluminum can be, but I think okay.
But
so maybe I'm
sure there are plenty of glass manufacturers here in the United States
that do that.
Okay. Use.
All right. Finance. Their finance news, which do not follow them for financial advice. Do not follow us for financial advice. None of us know what the hell we're doing. Finance is best done by going with your gut feeling. Which my gut said, trust Brett and Mike, which is why my 401k is now entirely in Tilray stock, which is at what, 60-something cents?
I have not checked it for a while.
I'm afraid to check it. I don't know.
My poor kids won't be able to afford college anymore.
The way that I look at it, I was going to have to work until I was 95 anyway, but I was really hoping that Tilray would give me, like, maybe I could retire at, like, 90 instead. So, but I still feel confident that Brett and Mike, in the long term, know what they're doing.
They've got our best interest in mind.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. From there, they kind of rolled into tariffs. Everything is uncertain, changes every other day. So basically, just don't trust anything.
It's refreshing to hear them finally talk about tariffs.
Oh, they haven't touched on it at all until this episode. I have been wondering where the tariff talk was going to come in.
Right.
We finally got it. Do you think
tariff talk?
It could be a whole show in and of itself. Do you think they'll talk about tariffs next week?
Yes. I assume so.
Probably.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like when the downfall of Bud Light was happening and they just couldn't get enough of it.
Yes.
Tariffs are the new Bud Light.
When was the last time we heard them talk about Bud Light?
Since tariffs.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Kicking out one to talk about the other. Producer Dan actually showed his face on camera. There was some emergency situation that happened, and Brett all of a sudden just got up and said, I can't do this anymore. You guys are on your own, and just walked off stage, off bar, off camera, off shot. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And Mike went, I can't do this on my own. Producer Dan, do you want to sit here? And Dan went, hell yeah, let's do this. And they just sat and talked about weed. While Dan was sitting there in the chair. So that is where you get your weekly weed news and information.
Weekly weed, yeah.
They talked about 81.
That's a show.
Probably is. 81% of stoners think that they drive better when they're high, which, good God.
if slower means better, then.
I mean, I don't know. Starbucks burned a guy's penis, which was interesting to hear them talk about.
Yep.
That video was hilarious.
Who? And then, did DEI kill Bud Light? Oh, God, they did mention Bud Light. They finally came back to it. Did DEI kill Bud Light, or was it an overreaction to a non-situation? Could be all the above. And then Russians are drinking 26.3% less vodka than they used to.
Can't count on anything anymore.
No. Everything is in the air. Everything is constantly changing, and I don't know what else to tell you.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are all the notes that I had. I know that was incredibly rushed, incredibly chaotic, but hey, that's kind of what we do on Kolsch Night.
Sometimes that's the way it works.
I do have the sip count for this episode. Mike took 20 sips.
Okay.
Brett took 27 sips.
Brett's slacking a little bit.
I did not count producer Dan, even though I know he walked over with a beverage. I don't
recall him
drinking. I don't think he actually. Okay, that's fair.
I don't recall him drinking from it anyway.
We love producer Dan, but he doesn't count when it comes to the drinking game. That is 47. I know, doggy. That's right. That's 47 total countables, 94 ounces, which is 5.875 pints in 38 minutes.
Among two people, that's not that bad.
No, pretty good. That's all that we have for tonight. Again, it's Kolsch Night. It is trivia night, so we're going to wrap this up. Quick mention, Adam Makes Beer. He did a whole show. It's like an hour and 40 minutes where he followed Rhinegeist on Brew Day for Truth. So if you want to know how Truth is made, absolutely check out this show.
In that hour and 40 minutes, they brewed like thousands and thousands and thousands of barrels of Truth.
It's ridiculous. It's
we're
amazing.
We're going to start again. And now we start again. We're going to start again.
But what's crazy is you're like, there is so much truth happening there, but when you look at places like the Molson Coors facility in Trent and all that, that is still just a drop in the bucket to what, oh my God, it was kind of mind-blowing. So if you are interested in the more technical aspects of brewing, Adam Makes Beer has all of the content that you could possibly want. And then I always want to give a quick shout out to our friends up north in Michigan. The full ass beer review with Josh, Binter and Bibbles with Tone and the Dude 7-9, and 7Ds, which I'm going to make up 7Ds for Dress in the Dungeon Dungeon Master. So that would be 7Ds. What would that be? That would be Drassens, Dungeons, Dragons, Dingoes, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. I think that's 7.
Okay. I forgot drinking.
Oh, and drinking. That would make it 8 sevens. So you know what?
It's a silent
7. Silent 7. All of their content is absolutely spectacular. If you want anything Dungeons and Dragons or pop culture related for beer reviews, absolutely half-ass beer review. It's fantastic, even though sometimes Josh acts like an ass. Not gonna lie.
That Josh, not me.
Not Josh, not.
Yeah, let's be honest. We all kind of do sometimes.
and Josh, I'm sweating about this. You're not an ass. It's fine. All right, with that being said, while Adam kicks off trivia here at Higher Gravity Northside, which thank you for letting us take over a table and kind of impose a little bit on trivia night. Josh, Gnome, thank you a ton for being here, as always. Yep. Is there anything else either of you want to say before we wrap this shit up and get down to Kolsch Night?
No.
I love you all.
Woohoo! Love it. All right, we will catch you guys. That's not the right button, but you know what? We'll see what happens. We'll catch you guys next week when Marco is back and I actually know what the hell I'm doing. Bye.